Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Total Truth Show. And here on the Total Truth Show, we want to help you break free from the lies and propaganda of the mainstream media, all the disinformation and misinformation. We want to help you blast through all of that. And my name is Ken Kleinberg, coming to you all the way from the USA, San Diego, California.
And I'm Aldwyn Altuney, known as the Media Queen from the Gold Coast in Australia.
There is a great awakening happening in the world right now, and you're going to want to come along for the ride.
A lot of lies are coming to the surface. There's a lot of awakening happening, and as this awakening is happening, people realize they've been deceived for years. They've been lied to for years around all sorts of things. A lot of people have been blind to what has been going on in the world, and now they're starting to see. They're starting to see things in a different light.
Through our show, we want to raise global consciousness to quantum critical mass. And we don't want you just to accept the things that we're saying. That goes for our guests as well. We want you to do the research for yourself. Get out there and start questioning things. Start looking things up. Do the research. We want to pave the way for a new awakened world. And we want you to come along for the ride. So with that, let's get started, you guys. Let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome.
Welcome to Total Truth Show, episode 139. The truth about thriving under pressure is our topic today. And we have an amazing guest with us all the way from Amsterdam in the Netherlands. We have Robert Jayd Tettero with us. And of course, Ken Kleinberg, my co-host from San Diego. It's going to be a hot show today. I know there's a lot of people have a lot of pressure right now. So you're going to absolutely love this show. Now, a little bit about our guest before we get started here today. To chat with him. Now, Robert is a heart-centered success mentor for visionary executives, business owners, and thought leaders. He is an alignment and energy master, a stress and burnout recovery and prevention expert. He's an international speaker. He helps visionary executives, business owners, and thought leaders recover from stress, prevent burnout, and break through the hidden challenges that drain their energy and potential. He doesn't do stress management. Instead, he offers a comprehensive program that provides real-time, practical, and applicable solutions that create immediate relief and lasting transformation. Welcome to the show, Robert.
Hi there. Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
So great to have you here. Of course, we met through Ed Zia's networking event, so shout out to Ed Zia if he's tuning in right now. And we hopped on the other day to have a chat and get to know each other better. And our little half-hour scheduled chat went for about 3 hours. So it was an amazing conversation. And what an extraordinary man you are, Robert. From what I know about you. Now, with the topic today, thriving under pressure, why did you pick this topic?
Well, I actually just recently I did some marketing research because I was just curious. After 30 years of doing what I'm doing, I wanted to connect with all the people of the business community to find out what's going on in their life, what do they see in their community, and what helped them most when they worked with me. And without any exception whatsoever, they all said that what they see in their communities is stress all over the place and people just burning out. It's just amazing. It really is. So and
times. Yes.
Yeah, and the thing is that one of the reasons that I would attribute this to is because there is such an enormous change going on in the world. The energy is so high, time seems to be flying by. People can't really handle it, they can't adapt to the enormous change and all the things that are unveiling and all the things that are coming to light, as the beginning of your program was indicating. A great awakening is happening. Humanity is at a crossroads. And so I think that's really amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've certainly seen a lot of economic pressure around the world. We all seem to survive the pandemic, and then there's something else, right? Something else comes about, and some other pressure that comes from government or from authority that seems to leave people feeling helpless and hopeless sometimes to be able to control what's going on in the world. With rising prices, the war with America and Iran that just seems to be, I mean, Trump came in to say he's going to end the war with Ukraine and Russia, and that hasn't happened. And now there seems to be even more wars around the world. So it's so much uncertainty and so many people, not knowing if they're going to have a roof over their head or if they're going to have food in front of them the next day. And many parts of the world right now, we're seeing that people are in poverty and they're dying of starvation in some of these countries. So there's definitely a lot of drama going on in the world. In Australia here, we've just had the government shooting down our beautiful horses and koalas and all sorts of animals that and making up reasons and justifications for why they think that is humane or why they think that is okay to do that. And of course, people are up in arms about it. It just seems like the people are not being listened to, and it feels like people are out of control. It feels they cannot control what's going on in the world. And of course, that adds extra pressure. And of course, we can't control what the
Correct.
government does. So it's coming back to, okay, how can we thrive under pressure, knowing that there's so much external pressure? And there probably has been since the beginning of time. There's probably been a whole lot of pressure since the very early days, and there probably always will be. So how do we live our best lives considering what's going on in the world? So what would you say to that, Robert?
Um, well, as far back as written, well, history on this planet, what have we been doing? We've only been waging wars.
Mm.
So I really didn't know how to deal with that. I just didn't feel I belonged on this planet. I thought I took a wrong turn and ended up here on the wrong planet, to be
Yeah.
really honest. And so most of my life as I was only trying to figure out what the hell I was doing here, what was my purpose, and where the hell was I going if I was going to, leave the body, my exit point. Where am I going to end up? Is this the end of it all? And it just everything or nothing actually made sense to me whatsoever. So I've been a seeker as far back as when I was a child, looking at all the adults going, these people don't understand me. Seriously.
Mm.
So uh, I've always been dealing with my own personal pressure constantly, but I never gave up looking for a way of resolving this because I was absolutely convinced that there was no reason whatsoever that any one of us would have to suffer of overwhelm, stress, and burnout. I believe, ultimately, it's all about bliss. It's all about connecting back to that sacred space in your heart where that pristine part of you is still there, untouched, unscathed. It's just who you are, who you've always been and shall ever be. But because of everything that's going on, we're living in the external world on the periphery and being influenced by everything except our own decisions, our own dreams, following our own impulses. You know, th- so part of my journey is learning and teaching others to trust that there is a higher intelligence, that despite the fact that all this stuff is going on, it had to happen. All the prophecies are just coming together at this point in time. The Zoroastrian prophecies, the biblical prophecies, the Native American Hopi prophecies, the Sanskrit prophecies, they're all coalescing and saying the same thing. We are entering this time period where humanity has to wake up and we have to
Mhm.
take individual responsibility if we want to make a change. And
Mm.
it's that's a big thing that we're talking about here, but it does come back to the individual of cleaning up their own mess, because again, the world is only a reflection of our own inner being. So if we don't like what we're seeing here, stop trying to fix it here. The only thing we have to do is go within and fix whatever it is that we are not willing to look at. We can point at Stalin and Hitler and all the dictators, uh, but we were a part of that creation. We have to take that responsibility, and this is the time where when we have to do it. We can't say anymore, "Oh, I don't want to, I don't want to know what's going on in the world." And so a lot of people sticking, the I call it the ostrich effect, sticking their head in the sand and pretending that nothing's
Mhm.
going on. That's not going to work. We have to take personal responsibility.
Now, so Robert, you said we need to clean up our mess. So I actually want to dive into that and unpack that a little bit here. So let's, so Robert, can you unpack that a little bit? Let's go into some detail. What do you mean by clean up our mess? Are you speaking of trauma that we hold? Are you speaking of, yeah? So unpack that.
Yeah, yeah, wonderful. Good question. Um, I I started I started wondering very early in my life, am I just the sum total of everything that I inherited from my parents? Am
Hmm.
I a product of my religious, cultural, and social conditioning? Am I under the influence of my uh, uh, astrological configuration, the way I came into the world, uh, my uh, birth trauma, specific negatives in my life, sibling rivalry, uh, parental approval and disapproval syndrome, something that I call death urge. All these factors, I was wondering, is there anything authentic in me? And if so, if I drop everything around me that has been of influence and all the laws that I was subject to, what would what would remain? And my whole journey has been nothing other than, in fact, cleaning all that internal mess, looking at my own shadow side instead of continuously, looking at the world and saying, "What a terrible world!" and look at all the wars that are being fought. It was actually my own inner despair that I need to clean up. And I do want to mention one thing: you don't have to grow up in a dysfunctional family to have your own agenda to clean up. I grew up in a really loving family. Our door was always open. We traveled all over the world. Friends could come over anytime they wanted, and yet I rebelled. I was a huge rebel. My poor father now to this day, I'm like, oh my God, what did I do to the poor guy? But I just rebelled. My father was Dutch. He was from Holland, and my mother was Indonesian. So this was also part of my journey because I was trying to reconcile the West and the East. My father was very rational. He was always right. And practical living, and you need to take care of all your stuff in your life, have your car insurance, have your health insurance, get a good job, and my mom was the complete opposite. And so, I was always busy of trying to figure out, well, where do I fit in the whole mess?
Hmm.
Mm.
So yeah, that was part of my journey, and it is about recapitulating your life and looking at the things that had influenced you and that who made you who you are, to ask yourself the very question, if all these rules were still applicable or not. And I found out no. Well, and there was a moment where I was so fed up with everything in the external world that I really disappeared from this planet for 7 years. And I said to myself, I'm not even coming back if I don't find the answers that I'm seeking. And I sold all my stuff. I paid off my debt, gave all the things away that I couldn't sell. I still had some money left to buy a ticket to the States. And that's where my real life's journey, the seeker, really began. It was all through the books of Carlos Castaneda. I don't know if you know about Carlos Castaneda, an
Mm.
anthropologist who wrote about his experiences with a brujo, uh, a shaman from the North Mexican tribe of the Yaqui Indians. And when I started reading those books, it was so outrageous. They were actually perceived as cult books. And
Mm.
yet I knew that there was such a truth in those books. And it just really motivated me to go out there and look for truth, whatever truth may be. But I ended up in the same area in the southwest of the United States and the northern border of Mexico, where all these stories of Carlos Castaneda took place, and where I ended up apprenticing with a Native American shaman for more than 16 years, and met so many men and women of knowledge who were willing to share their knowledge with me, because I was just so hungry for knowledge. I just wanted to know, what am I good for? What am I supposed to do here?
Mm.
What's my purpose?
What do you love about the shamans and their philosophies?
Well, to me, it was, this is certainly not the path for everybody to take, because I mean, to even get into that reality, I really needed to let go of everything that I thought I was and the world is and everybody around me. And it was really a process of breaking down my ego completely, and was I willing to let go of that? And well, I had a pretty big ego, so I was slapped around enough, to wake me up. But
Yes.
but it was so powerful and so profound. And through those experiences, I actually had very similar experience to Carlos Castaneda, who experienced it under the apprenticeship with Don Matos in those books. So, you know, these books were also widely criticized, and he was also sort of, yeah, sort of put down because they always tried to find his medicine man and nobody ever did. So they sort of said, well, it's probably nonsense, the stories that he's telling. I wasn't I wasn't even bothered by that. It was about what he was essentially teaching. And to put it in a nutshell, ultimately, after all these years, what I only discovered all that practice was all about is getting yourself out of the matrix.
Mm.
It was so profound.
Mm.
Because, I
And
mean, the natives were suppressed for over 200 years by the Spanish who came in, then the Mexicans, then the Americans, and all the Europeans that flooded into the New World, right? And so they'd been suppressed for like over 200 years. And so, and they'd be killed off if they wouldn't convert to Christianity. So what did they say? Well, out in the facade, they said, yeah, sure, we'll convert to Christianity. But meanwhile, underneath, they found a method, a really amazing method, how they could completely free themselves of any form of conditioning of the external world. And that was remarkable. For me, that was absolutely remarkable.
now I'm
And
curious
so
about that.
ultimately, yes, we can live.
I missed that there. Sorry, Robert. What was the method that they used
Yeah,
to
say
free
say
themselves?
that again.
What was the method that they used to free themselves from the matrix?
Oh, well, that's a long story. That's
Okay.
a very long story. I mean, first of all, from a shamanic point of view, they say the world is a dream. Well, that's interesting. If I bump my head against the wall, it's going to hurt. So
Yes.
what do they mean with that? The world is a dream. We don't we're not saying that the world is not real, but what we're actually saying is the dream is real. We are dreaming everything into being. So the importance of it all is, if we want to break through the matrix, we need to wake up in this dream and realize that we are dreaming everything into being. I am always in the process of becoming. So
Mhm.
what kind of
Mm.
dream am I creating? Am I going to
Mm.
follow the timeline of the people that want to scare me, that want to keep me on a low vibrational frequency so they can continue to manipulate me? So, all the shamanic practices was about raising your energy, was about withdrawing your energy out of the periphery out of the external world, and using that energy, what, to start strengthening your energy body. We don't just have a physical body, we have a mental body, we have the energy body, right? We have the emotional body. But it's amazing when you find out what happens to your energy body when you withdraw your energy that is constantly stuck in the external world and start using that for complete other purposes.
I find it
So
really
an
interesting
exercise,
what
for instance.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were done.
No, no, no.
Um,
Go. Yeah, go ahead.
What I find interesting, there's a word you used that really just stuck out to me. And the reason why it stuck out to me is because this is actually one of the foundational frameworks of what I teach all of the clients that I work with. It's one of the foundational pillars. And it's the word becoming that you used. And so the example I want to give here, just for the sake of example, not, and also not to get off topic, because I know sometimes Aldwyn hates it when I go on these little rants and get off topic, but I am going to use this as an illustration because I think it's huge, and I think it's a very huge principle in a lot of aspects of life, not just what I teach. But so for people who may not know, I'm a weight loss coach. I've lost 62.5 pounds. I've kept it off for 7+ years now. And oftentimes the question I get is not how did you lose the weight, but how have you been able to keep it off for 7+ years easily and sustainably? Well, that goes into one of the concepts that I teach, the concept of becoming. And again, I'm using all this not to talk about me or not to talk about what I do, but to give an example here. So the thing about it is diets, my average client, has been through diet after diet after diet, never been able to keep the weight off. What is missing in their life around reaching their health goals, reaching their weight goals, and being able to stay there sustainably is the becoming process. Why? Because diets skip that process. And that's why
Absolutely.
we can't do diets
Absolutely.
anymore, because it skips the becoming process. The becoming process is so important. So even in the aspect of business, if a person actually reaches their income goal in their business without becoming the person that's able to stay and sustain that goal once they reached it, it is actually the
Exactly.
worst thing that they can possibly do. Achieving that goal without becoming is actually the worst thing that they can possibly do. Becoming process is vitally important for you to be able to sustain and stay there. Anyhow, can I so expound on that as
Absolutely.
well, because becoming is so important.
Mm.
That's just a really great point you're making, because it is absolutely about that very aspect of life. We're always confronted with change, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in essence, if we don't embrace change, then we're going to become static. We're not going to grow anymore. And to me, life is all about growing and continuing to learn. And that's why I'm saying I'm always in the process of becoming, because life is going to dictate what it is that it wants from me. And so I always use the saying, when life points, I move. Life will
Mm.
dictate whatever it is that it wants from me. And I trust that me, I, the soul, not I have a soul, but I, the soul, is seeking to fulfill the covenant that it made with my physical incarnation to obtain that what I came here to do. To fulfill, the covenant that I made, the deal that I had to come here and go through this experience, this three-dimensional holographic experience. It is illusion. It is an illusion, but how do you figure, right? How do you figure? This is also very shamanic. And what I always use to keep reminding myself of the illusionary state of this world, I look at an airplane, which is huge and it weighs God knows how many tons. And relatively, when you look up in the air, relatively small engines that are hanging on the wings, I'm like, that's impossible that it can hang there. It looks so surreal. It's like, no. And it's just going real slow, just hanging there. And it's like, yeah, that's completely illusionary. Completely illusionary. By the way, I don't know if it's true, but I keep thinking, how can they put God knows uh, how much fuel they have to put into the wings to get from one place to the next? You know how much an engine burns on fuel, and they can fly 14 hours in the air with the load of all the fuel in those wings. that plane has to come down, and the fuel doesn't even fit in the wings. Have you ever thought about that? So to me, that's just already such a strange
Mm.
reality to look at.
Very, very
Yes.
But
interesting. And the other word you use, I mean, you're using like keywords for me and for what I teach and stuff like that. The other word you use is embracing the challenges in life. I mean, if life were a bowl of cherries, just all flowery and perfect and smell nice and everything was just glory and hunky dory like in a little wonderland, would we actually ever learn anything? The answer is no. We never would. So that's why
not
it's
at all.
important that through that journey, the journey of becoming, instead of, instead of when you encounter challenges or you fall off the horse or you have a hiccup or something like that, instead of looking at that as a disability or a failure or whatever, isn't it a lot more useful to embrace that and use it as leverage for learning, for growing, for getting stronger, for getting wiser? That's what it's all about. That's what you get to do. Not look at that as going, oh my gosh, another challenge. Oh my gosh, I'm going to become a victim of this circumstance. That's not what it's about. It's about growing and learning.
Mm. And the pressure can come in so many different ways. Like I've had a whole lot of pressure just in the last few days and in different ways. Now, one pressure I'll share with you, and I'm going to stick my finger up for this one. Now, I'm not sticking my finger up off, although I will
I think
say
that's the first time I've seen Aldwyn with the middle finger.
with my middle finger. Now, I had rings all over my fingers up until a few days ago, right? This finger here, I had a ring on that was so tight that actually, you can still see my finger is still a bit swollen, right? And expanded. And I had to actually get this ring cut off my finger to be able to, and thanks to Rita Barbagallo who did that for me, Dame Rita Rose, she had to cut, because I just keep these silver rings on. I'd kept them on for ages and I just never take them off. And this one, I thought surely my finger will go, like, because your fingers go fatter and skinnier at any time. And I thought surely my finger will go back to being a bit skinnier, and I'll be able to get the thing off. And I tried so many different ways. You can see I've actually cut my finger there trying to get the ring off. And eventually I had to give in to the pressure. And I thought this pressure is just getting too much, because the other thing I've been doing is I've been doing long beach walks. And every time you do a beach walk, there's a lot of blood that rushes into your finger. So that was actually getting fatter and fatter. And the ring wasn't growing at all. So we had to actually cut the back of the ring to get it off. So that was one bit of pressure that the minute that came off, I was massaging my finger with coconut oil. And I've been massaging it the last 2 days. And she's saying it might take 3 weeks for that finger to come back to normal. But this is
it's
one
just
bit of
hilarious. I'm sorry, Aldwyn.
And then I know it's hilarious that it's that finger, right? It's really interesting. It's that finger, or whichever way you look at it. And the other bit of pressure I had yesterday, I was at an event in Brisbane with Lewis Howes and Aaron Sansoni. It was called Greatness in Business, and it was an amazing event. Absolutely loved the event. But about halfway through the day, or sort of late morning, I started to suddenly feel this massive headache coming on. It was like and I've had migraines in the past, but I started to feel the pressure of my brain was starting to just really felt like it was just this thumping headache. And for anyone who's had migraines, you would feel it. But I actually feel this was some sort of food poisoning, because for at least half the day, I was in so much pain that I had to actually keep massaging my scalp. And I couldn't keep food down. I had diarrhea. I vomited several times, like even water. I was drinking water and I was convulsively vomiting for, 4 or 5 hours. And then, eventually it got a little bit better and better. And then last night I had a really good sleep. And today, thankfully, I feel a lot better. But you see, pressure comes in multiple ways, whether it's, physical. And I guess it's like, what are we going to do about that pressure? I could have left left that ring on that finger. So I could have just left it on there. I could have just left it there, but it got so painful. The pressure got so much eventually, and I could see, I could feel, even now it still hurts, because it's now, getting the blood flow the other way is quite a challenge, because it's been under that pressure for so long, that really it's now going to take a while for that pressure to dissipate.
You were probably yanking on it as well, trying to get it off?
Yes, I
So
was yanking
that
as
probably
well. Yeah,
made it worse. Yeah, that was
it did.
making it worse.
Yeah.
But there's
It did
there's a
make it
very
worse.
simple way to do that without having to cut the ring. It's with a
And what is
string.
it?
You put a
Please
string
share.
through it. Yeah, you
I've
just put a
tried.
string through it, put a string through it, and then you slowly pull on the string, and it
Yes.
will simply slide off your finger following the string. You're pulling the
Well,
string.
the thing is,
It's
I
really
did try
amazing.
that. I did try that
Put a
as
bit
well,
of
but
oil on
because
there.
well, I did everything. I did everything, and I just couldn't get it past the knuckle. I couldn't. I just couldn't get it past, even with string and with oil and everything. I just could not get it off. But anyway,
Okay.
eventually, that's the decision we made. But thankfully, we have saved the ring because we just put a little slit in the back of it. So there are ways you can handle the pressure without actually ruining the ring completely. We did cut the back of it, but it's pressure. We're talking about thriving under pressure. Like it comes in multiple ways. Whether and your body will tell you. Your body will tell you. And this was an external pressure in effect because I put the ring on my finger and I didn't take it off for so long, and my body changed shape, and then this is what can happen. So now I'm ring free, and I'm just letting all the blood flow around the body, etc. And with the migraine and the diarrhea and food poisoning, I think our body tells us when we need to eject stuff from our body that we don't need. And I think our body tells us in multiple ways intuitively when there's some pressure in our life that we are not liking. And it's like, well, how long will it take before we actually do something about that pressure, whether it's people in our life, whether it's our mindset, whether it's our, whatever pressure we actually put on ourselves. Back to what you were saying, Robert, in the beginning, it comes back to us. And a lot of people with their programs, for example, they talk about mindset, how important your mindset is to start with. And, what are we thinking in any moment when we have these 60,000 thoughts a day? What is actually going through our mind, and actually getting conscious to what is going through our mind? And what I find is the quicker I can move from fear to freedom with anything going on in my life, and the quicker I take action on that, the more empowered I feel. So I'm actually very grateful I got sick yesterday because I was able to purge a lot of stuff that didn't need to be in my body. I had a fast for a day. I just could not keep any food or I had little bits of water, but basically I fasted for a day, which will reset my body as well. And, grateful for that. Grateful my girlfriend was there to be able to cut the ring off. She got the pliers out, and yes, it hurt. It hurt initially to get the ring off. However, thank goodness, I feel a lot better about it now. So yeah. So what are your thoughts more around that? How much pressure do we need before we actually take action for positive change? What do you find?
Yeah. I believe most of us don't know how to deal with pressure. And and then you have high achievers that are continuously saying, "I thrive under pressure." And I'm like, "No, pressure is pressure, and on the long run, it will cost you your health." Just like a pressure
Yes.
cooker, if you don't open the valve, it's just gonna build up so much pressure that on the long run, your body will just not be able to handle that amount of pressure. And then you'll get all sorts of symptoms. Your health starts declining, and you're going to risk your business and your relationships because at some point when you hit burnout, and the thing is, in the business industry, it's rewarded. People that are thriving under pressure, they're pushing forward and they're carrying, the team, and they're doing whatever it takes. They'll put in the extra hours, and it's rewarded until they burn out.
Until
And
they
then
burn
what?
out.
What do they do then?
Mm,
And
yeah,
they will.
absolutely.
I've had people come back to me after 2 years. Oh my God, I should have listened to you. And I'm very open about that. I said, yeah, you should you should have, because pressure
Yes.
is pressure. Pressure is pressure. And
Yes.
and not only that, we actually accumulate a lot of trauma unbeknownst to us. let alone let alone a child, but even adults, can experience moving a house, moving to a new neighborhood or a new country can be experienced as very traumatic. For a child, even more so. He's known. He's very comfortable in his safe environment. You take him out of that environment, bring him into the unknown. It could really be experienced as traumatic. A breakup, accident in the family, a disease, whatever. Simple, small things, small arguments, constantly, building up in between people in a relationship. So there are so many factors that are at play, and it just keeps accumulating, keeps accumulating, and then we start fighting about absolutely nothing. Road rage is actually an unconscious way that we can just blow off steam,
Mm.
And not recognize that that's what you're doing. No, you get angry at somebody that cuts you off, but every single time when somebody's had an accident and they feel they were victimized, and they had the right of way, and this guy this and that, and tell them, and I look at them and I say, what could you have done differently? Because you could have avoided that crash. And they're like, what are you saying? No, you said, what could you have done differently? Because you knew that you were going to crash that car. And I don't let them get away with that. I hold them accountable, and they always come back to the, oh my God, yes, I could have avoided it. But he felt like, no, I'm not going to let you pass, those kinds of things. We bring ourselves in certain predicaments, and it's because, again, talking about the mess, a lot of things underneath the surface are just boiling, and unconsciously we're trying to continuously blow off steam. Road rage, you start screaming at somebody, honking at them, driving like a maniac, fighting over nothing. And a golden rule that I always apply with anybody that comes to work with me, I'm like, golden rule, you are never angry over the thing you think you're angry about, and never at the person you think you're angry at. Never. It has nothing to do with the present. It's something that you did not resolve of a past experience in time, place, and with a particular person. And you're still reacting from the same way that you did when you were that child that felt denied or didn't feel taken serious. Now, years later, you're in a business situation and you're having an argument with your business partner, like you had with your father, for instance, but have no clue that it had anything remotely to do with the way you felt not taken serious by your father. So that's a golden rule. So if somebody's screaming at me, I can just hold my ground. I'm not going to feel pressured. I'm not going to feel offended, because I know it has not, I really absolutely nothing to do with me. Maybe he had a bad day. Maybe he just had a divorce. Maybe he got fired. Whatever his reason may be, maybe I do remind him of his father. You just never listened to me. Oh, okay. Because I said to somebody, I don't want to hear the story. Now that really triggered him, but it had nothing to do with the fact that I wouldn't be interested in him. I just didn't want to hear the excuses he was using to justify whatever he's feeling. I always want to bring people to the point, Don't go circumventing and looking for excuses. No, go down and look in yourself what it is that is limiting you in your experience with the world and other people in it. So that's, what I really love doing, and helping them recognize that pressure and thinking that you thrive under pressure is just not a good thing, and that it is absolutely not necessary. Has worrying ever helped you?
No.
Nope.
No.
No, exactly.
Right.
And so I've realized, I had a coach years ago say that I was addicted to adrenaline, which is very interesting. And I think there is definitely some truth to that. And I look back at my life and I think I was an elite junior table tennis player there for a while. So in sport, it's a very high adrenaline thing. I've been in the media for as long as I can remember. And of course, media is very go, 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 deadline, deadline.
Yeah.
Actually the word deadline is interesting too. Deadline, right?
Yeah.
The pressures, pressures of, meeting
these deadlines or meeting these timeframes, and leaving things to the last minute. Often I've had a bad habit of that as well, and so that creates extra adrenaline, extra pressure that doesn't need to happen if I plan things out in enough time or allow enough time for things. And then I've been looking into a lot of ADHD symptoms as well lately, because Ken and I both have ADHD, and a lot of entrepreneurs do, and ADHD can be a superpower as well. Although one thing that can happen is with the executive functioning that happens with ADHD, they can have issues with organization, and while they can be hyper focused, organization, and they say there's two timelines for people with ADHD. There's now and not now. Right. So they get very much in the moment with what's going on, and then sometimes just, lose track of time. And I mean, as we were talking about time the other day, Robert, about, this illusion of time as well that can happen. So pressure can happen a lot when people want to do something by a certain time and it doesn't happen, and then they beat themselves up about it. That can be one form of pressure. Or they, actually, it was interesting yesterday at the Greatness in Business event, Aaron Sansoni asked, how long have you guys been sitting on something that you've wanted to do that you haven't done? Like, how many people have been sitting on something, like whether it's writing a book and then people say, okay, how long have you been sitting on that for 1 year or 5 years or 10 years? And there were people there that had 10 years they've been sitting on something that they wanted to do that they haven't done. And when that's the case, what happens to your subconscious mind when you haven't done what you've said you wanted to do? Then you feel you're a failure, or you feel you're not good enough. And then that adds extra pressure with our own thoughts in our own mind of how we feel about ourselves. And what I notice is that whenever I honor my word, and it could be, small things, whenever I honor my word, I feel more empowered. I feel more confident in myself. I feel better about myself. So then it's being mindful of what we give our word to. Right. And being mindful, especially the people pleasers out there. The people pleasers out there give so much to others, which I've been for a long time, give so much to others that they forget to give to themselves. And that's where the burnout can happen, when they're not honoring themselves. And my girlfriend said, there's all the love you have for others is there for you too. Right. All the love so it's actually giving ourselves that self-love and giving ourselves that grace to sort of navigate life with all of the pressures that could be there on the outside, but also being very, very conscious of the pressures that are on the inside, because there's results or there's reasons in life. Right? Results or reasons. And it's where we can take 100% responsibility for everything that's going on in our life, all the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever, however we view whatever's going on in our life. When we take 100% responsibility, there's a hell of a lot of power in that. Go, okay, I have created my reality exactly as it is, exactly as it isn't. And now what am I going to do about it? How am I going to be about it?
I want to speak to something real quickly, because it's like, as you're talking about, worry and all of that. And Chris actually just put in Chris's recent comment here, life is too short to worry all the time. I struggle with it because you need to attend to certain responsibilities, but good point. So I identify with Chris there. Yeah, worry is like, I'd like to say that I have grown through that and I've gotten better, because I don't think worry necessarily runs my life anymore. But do I still struggle with it? Yes. Worry used to be my constant companion all the time. I worry about so many different things, and I catch myself in it all the time. And, and learning to kind of reframe it, learning to kind of release it, because in reality, it really does no one any good. All it does is worsen the situation. My struggle with it, though, is it's like, especially once you're in that raging storm of worry, the struggle is figuring out how to get out. And there are sometimes you can't figure out how to stop it. And that's like, sometimes that's the biggest frustration for me. So, Robert, Aldwyn, did you have anything more you want to add? Because I got a question for Robert. Okay. Totally. So Robert, my question for you in those kind of circumstances. So when you're in that raging storm of worry and you've got that raging storm just circling in your head and it's getting worse, and you're waking up at 4 a.m. in the morning, you can't get back to sleep, you're losing 2 hours of sleep, and you can't shut off your brain, how do you get past that? How do you, when you've tried everything, you've tried prayer, you've tried meditation, you've tried everything, but you can't shut it down. You can't shut down the constant raging storm that's going on in your head. How do you get out of that? That's my question to you, Robert.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you could journal and you could just write down, so that and writing heightens the point of focus. So you're actually brainstorming, right? And bringing everything out of your head onto paper. So you're already one step removed from that. But there's another much quicker and a much more effective way of doing this, and I love it because all our emotions are just climates. It's just a climate. And just like the climate, the weather will change. So what I tell people to do is just sit with it. Don't do anything with it. Just sit there with your anger, with the worry, with the struggle, with the frustration, with whatever climate you're in. Just sit with it. Don't go anywhere because the ego wants to. It wants to
I
fight.
want
It wants
to
to struggle.
fight.
It
Yeah.
wants the solution now, right? No, don't move. Just observe it. Don't move. Don't worry because it's not permanent. Everything is impermanent. So at some point, without you even realizing it, all of a sudden it is just gone. Just like the clouds all of a sudden pass by. If you notice all those thoughts that are going on in your head, just observe them like you're observing the clouds. Don't try to identify with it. Don't superimpose your ideas over it. Just observe those thoughts. I mean, that's with meditation. When people start meditating, the first thing they think is, I don't know how to meditate. Because the first thing they're going to become aware of is that they've got 3 million thoughts going
Oh my
through their
gosh.
head
Yeah.
at the same time. Right? So then they give up. But it takes practice, and it's like the waterfall, and then the water comes into the river, and you've got a level 5 current, and then level 4, level 3, level 2, and then finally, right, you break out into the ocean, where you end up in the bliss and the quiet but you have to go through the motion of all the thoughts that are just possessing you, if you will. So it's a climate. Trust that it will pass, just like any other weather climate, and weather that storm. And then you can, as an observer, you can really become that. What is it? How do they say the needle in the eye, or something like that, or the
Eye of the needle.
the quiet in the
Eye of the
storm.
storm.
The eye of the storm.
the eye of the storm. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And and there's one other thing, because you were just reading something that somebody just had posted as a comment,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I was reading that he was talking about, yeah, the worry and the frustration that he has certain responsibilities for other people, or doing certain things, and I say to all those people, I say, you only have one responsibility in your life, one and foremost responsibility. And most people don't like me saying that at all, but it is toward yourself. You are only
Mhm.
responsible for yourself. And that might sound like
Mhm.
crazy, because most people will say, well, wait a minute, you've got children to take care of, you have a wife, you have a family, you have your job, you have your. No, I am first and foremost, and I stand by that, responsible for your health, for your well-being, for your, internal harmony. Why? Because if I'm not in that place, then I won't be able to serve anybody, nobody.
Mm.
So, sometimes I say to somebody, yeah, be egoistic. If people are going to call you egoistic, that's fine, because only you know what you need to get to that place of peace and quiet and bliss. And only then can you be of any significance to anybody else.
I want to speak into that a little further. So oh my gosh, you hit the bullseye with what you just shared there, because if you're coming and you're serving people from a place of lack, like if I show up for my clients from a place of lack, they're not going to get the same quality service that they hired me for. So therefore, you are 100% correct, 110% correct. I'll top that.
Yeah.
You must take care of yourself and give yourself that time so that you're replenished, and you are literally coming from, as my own coach, my own business coach says, so you're coming from a place of overflow. You serve your clients from that overflow. You serve people from that overflow, not from the main cup, but from the overflow.
So true. And, there's a lot of emotional pressure.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, well said, exactly. A lot of emotional pressure can come from that feeling of obligation to family. Like, I have 2 aging parents. A lot of people know my mum is 82 with dementia. She can't walk. She's in a nursing home. And every time I see my mum in the nursing home, I come out crying. I just come out, really sad that she's not able to walk when I know she can walk, but the dementia, I can't control her brain. I said to Mum the other day, I said, "Do you want to walk, Mum?" And she said, "It's too hard." She, a year and a half of being in bed. She had a fall under the care of a carer a year and a half ago, broke her arm. Nothing happened to her legs. She was walking half an hour before this fall, half an hour with me. We were doing walks down the road and, but then she had the fall, 3 months in a hospital bed. And now she's just has lost all confidence in being able to walk again. And I think of my mum and I think, all her life, she gave so much to so many people. She constantly depleted her cup, I would say, for her obligations to family, for, how much she did for others. And now she's 82 and she's receiving now. She's receiving. She's in bed and she's, being cared for by the carers, by, my dad, God bless him, he sees her every day in the nursing home. They've been married 55 years. And he has also the obligation, he said, he often says to me, he said, when I married your mum, I said I would be there right till the end. I would, till death do us part, right? That was the word that people give in marriage. And yet, so many people break that for whatever reason, as it takes 2 to tango. But, the pressure, and also my dad's 88. He's had 4 heart attacks, prostate cancer, diabetes. He's living on his own. I'm a 3-hour drive from them. Right now I'm actually at my dad's place, and God bless him. He just brought me some homemade juice, some guava juice. He just came and brought that to me during the show. What a godsend he is, beautiful parents. But this obligation we have for those around us that we love and that we really want to do our best for. And at the same time, a lot of carers need caring, right? Because they just give so much of themselves, and you can get so frustrated when I just want my mum to walk. I just wanted to get up and, be able to have that freedom in her legs. And of course, one day of lying down, you lose 60% muscle mass. So of course it's too hard for her to walk now because her legs will be like jelly, and she's lost a lot of weight. She's more and more frail. Her skin's really, I touch her skin, it's so soft, and it's really, really tough to witness those around you aging or, not well in some way. But then at the same time, that's the cycle of life, right? We're born, we die in this version of reality, the 3D version. Robert, as you mentioned earlier, it's going to happen to all of us at some stage, right? Some people die quickly and some people it takes a long time for them to pass. And then I come back to gratitude, right? I help myself through this. I think, well, at least they're still alive. Right. And while they're still alive, I will do the best I can for them. And at the same time, I also make time for myself. I make time to go to the beach. I make time for my beach walks, hanging out with my chickens or my cats, or my, doing media consultations, doing these shows. This all fills my cup, doing all this kind of stuff. So, absolutely, we need to fill our cups up first and to be able to help others with the overflow, and noticing when we need to just step back and just go, look, I've done the best I can in this situation. And I got sick yesterday, right? My body was telling me that I needed to purge some stuff, whether it was emotional stuff. We're talking with Robert about my near-death experience a few years ago where I got swept out to sea and potentially could have drowned. And I truly believe I've had PTSD since that's happened, a post-traumatic stress disorder, right? And I haven't really looked at that and dealt with that. But every time I go into that story, I get very emotional, right? Because I felt it was going to be the last day on the planet and I wasn't ready to die. And so there's all these things, getting this conscious awareness of where we're adding extra pressure to ourselves that may not need to be there. How can we let go of this pressure? I meditate every day. I do things like yoga. I stretch my body out. All these things help, connecting with nature. What is it for you? What is it that you do when you're feeling pressure? I'd love to hear from our live viewers as well. Thank you to those joining us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube right now. We've got Kenneth Dunner Jr. here. Savor the flavor of the awesomeness in you peeps. Love you, Kenneth. Thank you for joining us. And he says he loves Ken going on rants. There you go. You've got permission from Ken. And Kenneth says, I go on rants relentlessly. And so do I. As you can hear, I'm going on a rant right now. I'll come back to some of these other comments, but I'd love to hear a bit more about that from you, Robert, about, what you do personally when you're feeling the pressure coming on and when you're feeling a bit depleted. What are some things that you practically do on a day-to-day basis to relieve the pressure in your life?
Well, one of the tools that I found, I call it conscious energy breathing. Also, the original name is called rebirthing. It's uh, exponentially, it has grown immensely, and they call it breath work. But I don't believe in work whatsoever. Remember, I'm not about working and pressure and stress management. You're still, stress management, you're still dealing with stress. I don't need to manage my stress. I want to get rid of it, right? But it is again coming back to letting go of all those conditions, right, that I was subject to, the laws that my parents, my culture, my social conditioning. When you completely let go of that, you come into a state of grace. I can hardly ever say that I'm stressed about anything at all. And if I am, my body is self-regulating because
Mm.
I have readjusted my breath. And that's another story altogether. For most of us, because of birth trauma, it ruined our breath in the very first moments of our lives, which kicked in the sympathetic nervous system, our fight and flight reactions, that is actually unconscious to us, constantly on in our lives. For no reason, we blow up and we don't even know why. It's like overkill. But it's because your nervous system has been dysregulated to such a degree that it does not feel safe to let go. So we have an enormous amount of control. But when we let go of all these things that has been tying me down energetically, what happens is miraculous. It really is. You don't even have to do very much. I used to feel the stress, and then I'd become aware that I wasn't breathing, and I'd have to sort of take a breath by myself. And what happened when I started practicing this breathing discipline, I gave my body back its function to do what it was meant to be doing in moments of stress. So now what happens? My body just takes a breath and pushes that pressure off of me. And then my consciousness follows, like, oh, wow, I was holding my breath. My body does not allow anything to be suppressed anymore. It just doesn't. It just takes a breath and it's like, wow. So how I can rely on my body in the regulating function and not allow me to build up any form of stress whatsoever. So I use this conscious energy breathing, and I called it that because it is about taking a conscious breath. One conscious breath is better than breathing, not being conscious of your breath the whole day. One conscious breath will help me become aware where the energy is flowing, where it's blocked, where it's going up to in my body, if I have any pains, if I'm holding anything suppressed into various parts of my body. It's just really amazing. It really is. And I have used this tool for 30 years. And this is one of the questions that I asked all the business people that I'd worked with over the past 30 years. And what was the most profound thing that helped you get out of your stress, overwhelm, and burnout? And all of them, without any exception, said the breathing.
Uh-huh.
But it's
Wow.
not just, oh, take a few breaths when you're feeling stressed. Oh, do some box breathing of this, do a bit of this, do a bit. No, it really is comprehensive, you know, discipline where you need a professional to guide you through these sessions until you haven't mastered the breath to a certain degree so that you can breathe by yourself. Because as you're breathing, some things can be released out of your subconscious conditioning, out of your cellular conditioning and your limbic imprinting, muscular imprinting, all these things. That's the somatic part of healing. Things can come up, but what do you do when it comes up? You need somebody there to guide you through it that has gone through those very aspects of healing himself. And that is very profound. And everybody, without exception, said that breathing method was just miraculous. And it really brought them into that space of bliss, because I believe that our original state of being is bliss. We came here to experience bliss, not to have a bad time, right?
Mm.
And to suffer. I mean, I do believe in
Yes.
the principle that there is no progress without suffering, but what kind of suffering? It needs to be a form of suffering that you grow out of, and not
Mm.
something that continuously keeps repeating and you not learning and staying, in a place where you don't understand why things are continuously repeating itself. They keep repeating itself because you didn't get the lesson in the first place.
Yes,
So
unfortunately.
what I also say, yeah. So what I also say to many of the people that I work with, I always say that, for one, problems don't exist, because for every problem there is already an opposite solution. We're living in a world, a dualistic world, right? So for every problem there already is a solution. So all we need to do is step aside and allow it to neutralize itself. You have to trust this higher intelligence that I'm talking about, that you are able to do this if you step aside and trust the process. And the problem is actually only there. Why? To help you, because now you have to do something. You have to gain energy and curiosity to find out what is hidden behind that obstacle that life is trying to teach you, right?
Mm.
It's only a
Mm.
learning process. So when you let go, you you can really get down to what it is that life is trying to show you in that very moment. And then you have these huge epiphanies, these huge aha moments, like, oh my God, I never thought of this. Oh, wow, amazing. Oh my God, what a healing just took place, because you didn't give any energy. You did not identify with the problem, but knew, okay, I've got an obstacle in front of myself now. Now I'm going to pay attention. This is the time where I want to be alert, because life is trying to point me in a certain direction, and try and figure out what's hiding behind the obstacle. That's magnificent.
Mm.
Mm.
I love that. And back to the breath work,
And so I can never,
yes, you can never, we'll go to conscious breathing in a minute. Yep. You can never, you're saying?
There's a
um,
small delay.
when you look at life that way, it's never a matter of failure. You
Right.
can never say, I failed. That's impossible. It's just lessons learned,
Mm.
and
Yes.
hopefully you learn the lessons so you don't have to repeat them over and over and over again. But it's
Yes.
all about helping you grow, helping you, reconnect with that essential part of you that is always there, has always been, and forever shall be.
Mm.
Yes. It's
And
about embracing.
because we just went into separation. Yeah,
Yes. It's about
yeah,
embracing the challenges, isn't it? Embracing the challenges as learnings rather than a lot of people say, oh, I failed at that. And then they beat themselves up about it. But just because you feel you failed at whatever that challenge was doesn't make you a failure.
Mm.
Right. And that's where a lot of people collapse the two things. And, it's just actually embracing the
correct.
challenges and
Yeah.
looking at them as
I
learning
used to beat
experience.
myself up constantly. I used to beat myself up constantly. The
Yeah.
self-critic, Dad, you don't have to tell me what I'm doing wrong. I'm already punishing myself for everything I
Yes.
think I'm doing wrong. So I beat him to the punchline,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know.
So true. Now, I'm
So
curious. Yes, it's so true. We can be our own worst enemies. Now back to the conscious breathing. I'm very curious about this because I've done, quantum breath work and different types of breath work over the years, which have been under guidance and under, in a safe environment, where some of this conscious breathing or quantum breathing can be, transformational as far as almost taking you to other dimensions, right? And that's like a whole. I think it releases DMT or something. It releases something that's like having a natural drug when you do this really deep, in through the mouth, out through the mouth, very deep breathing that, for 20 minutes or so. So with the conscious breathing that you're talking about, how much time would you need to really be able to shift something that's going on in your life, or you're feeling a lot of pressure? What's the best kind of
You will,
mm,
well, believe it or not, within the first session, you will immediately start experiencing change simply because things are coming to your conscious awareness. I mean, in my first session, I recapitulated my whole life. I mean, it was just remarkable. Now, I'm an exception to that rule, but because I was already so ready for all those parts of my past and past lives to be revealed. But in one session, it was just unbelievable. And for the first time in my life, I understood why I had become who I had become, and and why I was faced with all those problems. That a very specific decision was instrumental in how I lived my life. For instance, one of my pre-verbal thoughts that I had was, I'm going to have to do this alone. And for the rest of my life, I ended up doing everything alone. But it was
mm,
of my own conviction of something that happened. Because even when people would come to me and say, "Can I help you?" What do you suppose I would say? "Oh, no, don't worry. I can do it alone." And then
mm,
I would get angry when I needed somebody, and I would get angry and yell at everybody that nobody was there for me.
yes.
So I was maintaining my own belief unconsciously. It was just amazing because somewhere in my life in the past, I had uh, I had decided that I was going to have to do this alone. It's just
Mm,
unbelievable. And and during that session, I was like weeping and at the same time laughing my head off because I realized the stupidity of it all, the ridiculousness of it all, and at the same time crying and crying because of the pain and suffering that I'd caused myself. It was just amazing. So the, in that first session, I knew for the first time in my life that this was something I wanted to pass on to people. And I didn't know in what form yet, but I knew it was the breath that I wanted to teach people to use because it just changed my whole life completely.
and being
And I
in
come
breath.
from a business background.
Yes, fascinating. And being in breath is being in spirit, right? It's actually the
Yeah,
spiritual flow through the body is, when we breathe properly. Now, I've got some
absolutely.
interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the point is this, yeah, just quickly, the point is this, because when I talk about spirituality, I ask all entrepreneurs, are you spiritually fluent? You know, Spirituality has nothing to do with something, out of body or woo woo, on the contrary. When I started breathing, because I had experienced peyote ceremonies, medicinal plants, I could go into other dimensions, no problem. But I realized very quickly that's not what it is about. It's not about, you know, going on some kind of journey up there. It is about bringing the energy into your body here and now.
Mm.
This is what we came here to do, taking possession of the body and having been blessed to have a body to experience this reality. So it's not about, having all these out of the ordinary experiences. On the contrary, it is about taking completely possession of your body and using your vehicle to experience this reality in its fullest.
Mm. You know,
Yeah,
one
that's
of the things that I wanted to
fascinating.
say there too is, you know, in regards to failure. So it's really, really funny. So there's some clients that I work with, and one of my client, um, one of my clients often has I feel like they often carry this failure from their past, and it's coming in to their weight loss journey. It's coming into their health journey, and it's constantly been showing up in many different ways. And I'm being very, very careful on how I word things because, I'm also trying to protect my clients' privacies, obviously. So I'm even trying not to use him or her as much as possible. But so I developed a whole coaching session around this, and I started this way. And I said, let me ask you something. If a toddler falls 500 times while learning to walk, did he fail? And the obvious answer is no, of course not. So, what did he fail? Was he learning? But what if his parents looked at him after like the third fall? And as ridiculous as it sounds, it just makes a powerful point. What if his parents looked at him after the third fall and said, well, I guess walking just isn't for you? Right? That sounds absolutely absurd and ridiculous. But here's the thing. We do that exact same thing to ourselves. That's exactly what we do to ourselves. And so, the question is how have you defined failure most of your life? What does it actually mean to you? And to kind of bring it all into circle, and to the front here, that's basically what I mean. To bring it all, to the surface, that's what I wanted to say. If you are still here today with a beating heart, everything that happened in your past that you think is a failure was not. Why? Because you got back up. Because you're here. So technically, all you've done is you have put a tag on things that have happened in your life, a tag of failure, when really the actual reality, and I'm using reality, picture this word in all capitals and with a bunch of exclamation points in front of after it. Reality is those were learning points. Those were lessons to learn, not failures.
Correct.
You tagged failure on there because you had expectations on what it should look like, and when it didn't look like that, when the perfection didn't show up, that's what you did. You tagged failure when all it was is a lesson. All right, that's it. I'm done.
Thank you, Ken. Absolutely. Yes, such a good point. The number of times that each of us would have fallen as toddlers and got back up and fallen and got, and thankfully for most of us, our parents gave us a lot of grace because we were just so cute at that time that they were like anything we did just, it was acceptable. But, we were once upon a time babies and toddlers, and we were the cutest little things once upon a time, and we still are amazing and miraculous and all those things. However, as we get older, we tend to get harder on ourselves, harder on others. We become more bitter, we become more resigned and cynical, all that stuff, right? We lose trust. I mean, right now
and it should be the other way around.
Yes. It should be the other way around. Yes, exactly. And so it's actually noticing, where do you beat yourself up? Where do you beat other people up? Where are you hurting? And where does that hurt? Where can that hurt be healed? And how can it be healed? And just back to the breath again for a moment, I just want to share with you the actual meaning of breath is actually from ancient languages. It actually means spirit or soul. And inhaling symbolizes receiving life and divine energy, while exhaling represents releasing negativity and surrendering. Isn't Isn't that interesting? How powerful is our breath? And our heart beats for us, I believe, is 100,000 times a day. Our heart beats for us, and we have no conscious thought of that often in a day. How amazing is our body to keep us going and all the things happening? When I got sick yesterday, my body's telling me, you got stuff in your body needs to come out, and even this morning, there's stuff needs to come out. So, it's like allowing that built up pressure to come out. There's a reason we vomit. There's a reason we have diarrhea. There's a reason we cry. There's a reason, we have tear ducts for a reason. People that hold back on their tears, this whole boys don't cry thing. I mean, I cry all the time, right? I wear my heart on my sleeve often. And I think I always feel better after I do. There's a reason our body tell us what we need to focus on, and it's actually allowing whatever it is to come out. So what is your body telling you, and trusting that inner intuition that's inherently there with all of us, trusting that and realizing actually we're not alone. We're never alone. Back to your point about alone. And I have had for a long time felt very alone, Robert. I have felt very alone, being like, no, this lone wolf thing that a lot of us entrepreneurs think, right? No, I can do it myself. I can do it better than anyone else. And then, we take on a lot of extra pressure that we don't need to. And I've been exactly the same. I've had friends that have offered to help with for example, my organization, particularly around my paperwork, right? That's one of my weakest areas. And I've had friends say, no, I'll come and help you. And I was like, no, it's too embarrassing. I don't want you to come near my stuff. Like, I just get very embarrassed and conscious about it. And, yet when I battle my own organization around my paperwork, I feel like I have moments of inspiration. I might have an hour or 3 hours or even a whole day that I'll get stuck into it. And I feel like I've just made a dent. I feel like it just feels like hard work, and there's some things that some people are naturally gifted in or that are very good at, and some things that we're better at than they're not at then. And so it's about, okay, how can we work together to make this happen? But back to the, alone thing, what I realize is alone actually has all one in there. If you look at it, all one is another way you can look at alone. And I do believe that we are spiritually guided at all times. We have our angels and our spirits around us, and our ancestors. I believe the energy of all these beings is around us. And so then it's noticing where the dark energies might come in and might be extra oppressive with this pressure we're talking about here. And how can we, do the spiritual work to actually, release or, let go of that dark energy and bring in more of the light energy. And that's a whole battle unto itself. But again, it's getting conscious to where are there these very dark forces in your life. And it could be in the form of people around you. It could be in possessions. And how can we release that? So what are your thoughts on that, Robert? Having done a lot of shamanistic work, what are your thoughts on these dark energies?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I have dealt with so many possessions, people that had various forms of entities. I had a shaman work on me. I had like 6 different entities hanging on to my energy,
Wow.
And I had to get them off of me. You're not aware of it, but it already happens, like through curses. When somebody says "go to hell" to you, it's a curse, and they're hooking you into the negative energy. People that get angry at you, it's all this negative stuff that they're projecting on you, and we're not even aware that it's just diminishing your energy. And so there is a specific ritual that we use in shamanism, that you actually, this is very extreme, but there's another way of doing it, but literally by the teachings of uh, Don Juan Matus, the teacher of Carlos Castaneda, in the practice of these shamans, they actually say that you have to recapitulate every single experience with every single person you've ever had a relationship with, no matter how minute the the relationship or the encounter was, because their premise is that we always leave a part of ourselves with the person you interacted with. Now, believe it or not, when I started cutting the energetic ties to a lot of people in my life way back throughout my life. Guess what? All these people all of a sudden started calling me that I
Oh,
hadn't
really?
seen for like 40 years. All of a sudden, the telephone, yeah, because I am there cutting the energetic ties, and they might all of a sudden feel this emptiness because I'm taking my energy
Mhm.
back, and they might start thinking of me. Not coincidentally, all of a sudden they call me up. Robert, is that you? Yeah, who is this? Is that a child that I hear on the background? Yes, that's my child. Who is this? Right? Well, somebody that I was just cutting the energetic cord with.
Wow,
Unbelievable. Really
that's
amazing. So we
and
all, we go ahead.
I'm just curious, what happens with those phone calls? Do you then engage? Like, does the person want to catch up with you, or what happens then?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I had one person also. I have lots of these calls. It was interesting because I had one person call me up after also like 30 years. Robert, will you forgive me?
Oh,
And it was interesting because I'm thinking when that particular incident happened, and this person had emptied everything in my house in Los Angeles was stolen, and I knew who had done it, but very quickly I just realized, well, God knows this is probably payback for all the things that I stole, either in past lives or when I was a child. I don't know. I just had this idea that it was okay to stick anything in my pocket that I just found. I didn't do it as a sport. I don't know what it was. I just, I didn't have that concept of children do that, and then they get punished, and then they think they're
mhm.
bad, right? Talking about, how we
Yes.
condition our children to believe that they're not good enough. Anyway, long story short, uh, it was interesting because I had immediately said, look, uh, I had decided to move anyway. So I was like, I saw all the advantages in all everything that happened and all my things that were stolen. So I said, well, one, I don't have to do anything to pack up and move all my stuff. Everything's gone, so I'm free. I can go. And two, I recognized that maybe it was just this karmic exchange of times that I had stolen. It's like planting seeds. I don't know if you know the theory of planting seeds. If I steal, right, I'm planting a seed that's okay. But what do seeds do over time? They
Mm.
grow. A seed can grow into a
Mhm.
huge oak tree. So I might have been innocent as a child stealing little things, but meanwhile, 30 years later, it's a huge oak tree that's standing right in front of me that's falling on my head. So all my
Mm.
belongings were stolen. So I recognized immediately, okay, this is probably part of me, paying the universal bank. Let whoever took my stuff enjoy it, and I remove her of him the responsibility of having taken my stuff because I wouldn't want something similar to happen to them. And it was interesting. So this person was living in guilt, feeling guilty for 30 years when I had already let it go after like several hours when I discovered my house was empty.
Mm.
So they were feeling
Yes.
guilty, and the guilt, racking them for so long. So
Yes.
those
It's
kinds of
interesting.
things.
Well, I
It's
also used to
important to
steal.
clear these parts of our past.
Yes, yes. I also used to steal as a kid, and for me, it was a bit of a, I don't know, it was like, "Oh, can I get away with this?" It was like this, excite it was just lollies and things like that, but I mean, I just used to, and I probably didn't have the money to buy it at the time as well, so I would steal little things like that, and it's interesting over the years, I've noticed, and now I don't do it because I know about karma, right? Now there's no way that I would steal anything, right? It's just not, I understand it comes back tenfold. If you steal from someone or
Right.
do wrong to someone, it comes back tenfold the other
Yeah.
way. Or if you do good for someone, it comes back tenfold that way too. And over time, it's interesting. I've been ripped off. I've been stolen from. Like I've had it come back in
Right.
multiple ways. Over time as well. And I've had to learn to forgive myself, to relieve the pressure and forgive myself because I
Right.
can't change the past. And there's times that I've also called people and apologized about certain things that have happened over time. And I felt better being, actually apologizing or clearing the air as much as possible. So I think, resolving those things, if there's something that comes to mind for you that you think about that is unresolved, or you've got a bad feeling about it, then find ways to let it go. And sometimes it is that the person that it happened with is now dead. And so you could write a little letter out and you could burn it and let it release it and do it, do it in other ways. But really, whatever that pressure is that you're adding to yourself from things that you cannot change from the past, it's time perhaps right now to let it go in whatever way that works for you. Now, I'm just aware of the
we
time
have to reconcile. We have to reconcile.
Yes, reconcile, absolutely. Now time is slipping away quickly, as can happen. And we do have a few great comments in here. I just want to go through these comments here. On LinkedIn, we've got Chris Pinadella. Totally fair to be curious about it. Okay, this was about the aeroplane conversation, because it does seem counterintuitive. Planes don't fly because of engine power alone. The wings do the actual lifting. As air flows over the curved wing surface, it creates a pressure difference that pushes the plane up. The engine's only job is to move the aircraft forward fast enough for the wings to generate that lift.
Fast enough for the wings to generate lift. Yep.
Yes, that's why a small plane can fly with a car-sized engine. Fuel needs are calculated for every flight based on weight, distance, and wind. Is that wind something else? Something there I think got cut off. That is in LinkedIn. Thank you, Chris, for that comment. It's interesting that when they first created planes, they were modeling the birds. You look at how birds fly, right? Look at all the different types of planes that have been over time. And we model nature. The shamans use the medicines of the earth, the plant medicine, right? You were talking about the power of nicotine the other day, Robert, right? And how much nicotine has been, the pure nicotine, how great
Pure
it is.
nicotine is actually a good thing. Oh yes, I've Dr. Addis, I think his name is. Yeah, I've been following a lot of his stuff. Love his stuff. Love all the research he's done. Love the books he's written.
He's amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Continue, Aldwyn. Sorry,
Yeah,
I just had to chime in there.
The power of plant medicine, and I've done different.
What's great? What's great about him is that he's. Yeah, what's great about Dr. Artis is that he has done so much research and has all the scientific proof of anything that he's putting forward and uncovering. So that's wonderful. Even for all the skeptics, you can't just say no anymore.
Yeah, when I hear him speak, no, there is something about the way he comes across with his confidence and professionalism. Like, you can't help but just go, oh, okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to researching that more now that I know about the power of nicotine. And that's without all, we're not talking about cigarettes here, which have got a million chemicals in them. We're talking about the original form of nicotine. And of course, weed is another one, right? Weed or cannabis is what they call a weed, and it's actually very good for you in multiple ways, as well. That's another one, and so many others that have been demonized over time.
Aldwyn.
Yes.
Aldwyn, one thing I just wanted to add, because you were mentioning about the darkness. Yeah, there are dark forces. I mean, it's been, over the millennia, even all the ancient scriptures are all talking about, the wars fought between the gods, the chariots of firing, weapons, nuclear weapons at each other. It's all in the Bible as well, the Mahabharata, you name it. So it's always that central theme of good versus evil. Yeah, but that's again the things that we have to clear in ourselves, and well, it doesn't have to be a big issue, right? What we're always saying is that the darkness is nothing other than the absence of light. So for anybody that is struggling with the dark forces, bring light into your life. It's that simple. Do things that bring joy, that bring you happiness. Your emotions are your navigation system. You can see where you are in any moment in time, in whatever experience you are, where you are as opposed to where you want to be. And there's only one place you want to be is feeling happy, feeling joy, feeling content, That's what we're all about. We want to just be really practical about that and do the things that make us happy.
Yes, I love that. And of course, Ken Honda has a book called Happy Money. And then we've got things like Ikigai, which is around, finding your purpose, around joy. And Bob Proctor talked about this a lot too, about, do more of what brings you joy. And you'll definitely relieve a lot of pressure
Right.
when you do this. In fact, Lewis Howes was talking yesterday in Brisbane about how he loves Latin dancing, and he's been doing it for 20 years. But when he first started, he was so nervous. He thought he was going to, stuff up. And when he first danced with one woman, he kept stepping on her feet all the time in the Latin dancing. But, now 20 years on, he's really good at it, and he's married a
Love
Latino
it.
lady,
Yeah.
and he's so do what brings you joy. And, absolutely love that. And Kenneth, I love Kenneth here. He always gives us such beautiful words. Savor the flavor. He says, Chris Pinadella, I think he invited Chris onto this live stream. Thank you, Kenneth. Savor the flavor of awesomeness in you, for sharing your beautifully well-articulated, eloquently stated, heartfelt thoughts with us tonight. Oh, thank you, Kenneth. I love that. Chris Pinadella says, hope you're feeling better now. Aldwyn. Yes, I am. Thankfully, Chris, I am feeling a lot better. And now I've had my dad's beautiful juice, which I think had some lemon in it too, which is really, really good for you. Get some lemon into you. Very good to get rid of the nasties out of your body. Kenneth loves my little finger. Thank you so much, Kenneth. I'm glad I'll just show it to you. See, it's still recovering. It's 2 days on and it's still recovering. I have a little lump. Hopefully, my girlfriend was concerned about arthritis, right? She said, you got to be careful with arthritis around, it's changed your joints. Anyway, you can see how much swollen it is still compared to my other fingers. But thank you, Kenneth. I'm glad you like my little middle finger. That's actually for the government, that one. But anyway, we'll move right along. My body definitely tells me I'm stressed. Kenneth says, yes, your body does. Absolutely. Jairus is here. Hello, Jairus, on LinkedIn. Jairus, hello, everyone. Nice to see you, Jairus. And Kenneth says, Jairus, you finally showed up, homeboy. There you go. And Jairus says he's rocking and rolling to Kenneth. That's nice. Good to hear.
Rocking and rolling.
Rocking. Now, Chris, I love this comment here because this is a big issue for a lot of people. My biggest new lesson is don't procrastinate. Okay, what do you say to that, Robert? Don't procrastinate. Why would people procrastinate?
Oh, my God. Why do we procrastinate? Is a good question. What are we avoiding?
There's usually a block.
The next question.
Yes. What are we avoiding?
What are we avoiding?
And why are we avoiding it?
I mean, it could be a fear. Could be a fear of failing. It could be the very fear of failing. So I'm not going to do it until we're reaching a deadline, right? And then you're forced to do it, and that feels very uncomfortable. But it's often because of the fear of failing, and then you'll just not do it and procrastinate.
Yes. Yes, so true. Dr. DeMartini, Dr. John DeMartini, I love his work. And he talks a lot about
Sorry.
And he says, whatever's highest in your values, you will not procrastinate or hesitate about. You will be focused. You will be organized around those things. And, it's interesting, even with our ADHD minds, there's certain things in my life I'm ultra organized with, and there's certain things that I'm in total chaos with. And the things I'm in chaos with, such as the admin, right? I just, it irks me. Even saying the word admin irks me. But I know how important admin is, right? But it's just not my area of flow. So I will procrastinate and deliberate because I'd much rather be out by the beach or hanging out with my animals or, doing something that gives me joy. So notice, where do you procrastinate and hesitate? Because it won't be high on your values, whatever that is. If it's high on your values, you won't procrastinate or deliberate about it, or you will outsource it to someone who loves doing that thing. And yes, there are people out there who love admin, apparently. So wherever you are, I'd love to hear from you. There are people that just love the numbers. And so that hasn't been high on my values, clearly. So I think procrastinating too, Chris, is, notice what you love doing. You probably won't procrastinate around those things. Now, Chris also respectfully slightly disagree with something we said earlier. Not totally disagree, but if you don't put enough effort into others and balance it well, you lose connections, and we are social creatures. Okay, this was about depleting our cup. I'm talking about earlier about you've got to fill your own cup up first before you help others with the overflow. So we are social creatures, Chris Pinadella says on LinkedIn. If we weren't, we wouldn't be in this room right now. That's true. And please DM me at some point. I used to work in neuroscience. Let me see if I can help in any way. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Thank you. I would love to reach out to you and have a chat. And Chris says, absolutely, Sakara bird was flight adequate and it's thousands of years old. Oh, there we go. Sakara bird. Oh, I don't know about the Sakara bird. I'll have to look that up. Thank you, Chris, for that one. And that's all our live comments here. We are about to wrap up now. So, Robert, do you have a favourite quote or motto you'd like to share with us today? Or final thoughts?
The quote of the day. The quote of the day. There's many, but I'll start with one short one. Whatever it is you want from the world, give it to the world first.
Oh,
I like that one. Whatever you want to give, whatever you want from the world, give it to the world first.
Love it. Love it.
And that immediately responds to what this gentleman was just posting about, you being just solely responsible for yourself. You have to keep that in the context in which I'm saying it, right? But
yes.
again, within that context, it is all about making sure that, again, you can't help anybody else if you're not first taking care of yourself, basically, what it comes down to. And the other quote is, risk is probably the only source of progress of getting anywhere. It means embracing the unknown, welcome the unknown with open eyes and open arms, embrace it. Yeah.
I love that. And where can people connect with you, Robert?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I have a YouTube channel. LinkedIn is probably the fastest way to reach me. Robert Jayd Tettero at LinkedIn, or on my website at manalifesource.com.
Beautiful. Love that. And for those who don't know what mana means, can you share that quickly?
Mana, well, my direct interpretation of mana is simply another word for energy. And mana life source, because I'm always sourcing from life itself. I want light to dictate what it is that I need to do. I want to be that vehicle through which I can serve spirit. I can serve God. I can serve humanity. It makes me happy if I can contribute in any way I can. At the end of the day, I can say, "Oh, I did a great job," and I can go to bed in peace.
Yes, thank you. And you're such a trooper. On in the early hours of the morning for you. You came on around 2:00 in the morning. Must be about 4:00 in the morning. Is it for you now? It's yes.
Yeah, something like that.
In the Netherlands, soon the sun will be rising. The bringing the light in. Talk about allow the light to come in. We have a sunrise, sunset every day, and it's our choice whether we show up for it. So thank you so much, Robert, for showing up for this live stream today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It was a lot of fun to be there and to meet you, Ken, as well. Wonderful.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Just so much of a pleasure. I really, as I stepped away from my desk just a few minutes ago, I was kind of thinking, I'm like, I actually feel really grounded after, engaging with this guy. It's just, you just have a way about you like that. So it's been just such a pleasure having you on the show.
Yes, he's very easy to chat with and listen to. You definitely bring your mana life force to the, to your conversations and to what you do. I absolutely love it. And this is where our half-hour conversation turned into, I think it was actually 3.5 hours in the end. I hopped off at around 1 a.m. my time.
It was 3.5 hours. It was 3.5 hours, and we could have gone on another 3.5 hours.
We could have easily. We could have easily.
To be continued. To be continued.
Yes. And you have your own podcast too, Robert. What's that one called?
It's called Life Matters Conversations. Conversations about life, but my message is deeper than that. I am saying actually that life really does matter. What is your big why? Why are you getting up every morning? Why are you doing the things you're doing? What is the thing that is driving you in your life and motivating you to get out of bed? Life matters. Make it matter. What would you be willing to die for? Really? If you're that passionate, if you live your life with that intensity, you don't take anything for granted anymore, and you give it your all at every moment you can. You do your best in every moment in time under the circumstances that you find yourself in. As long as you're doing your best, you're good. You're good to go.
Yes. Wonderful. Well, I can't wait to be on your show as well sometime soon. So keep an eye out. That's on YouTube. You
That'd
can
be
connect
fun.
with
Absolutely.
connect with Robert there and hear more of the magic that we bring. We've got Chris Pinadell says, thanks for the show. Very fun. Enjoyed it. Thank you, Chris. We've got Charles Caldwell. Good to see you on LinkedIn. Greetings from Hong Kong. Hello. Welcome. Now, Ken, let's go over
Hello,
to you.
Charles.
Hey, Charles. You know Charles too. Yes. Through Edzia's networking.
Yes.
Yeah. Good to see you, Charles. All right, Ken, now what's your quote for today?
Well, my quote, I've got a couple of them here as I pulled some up, and I just think these are just so powerful. And I'm looking over here at my other screen. So first of all, here's the first quote, and this is by somebody, now I'm probably going to mispronounce this. I think there's a little bit of accent on how you pronounce this name. Molière, I think that is. And the quote is, "The greater the obstacle, the more glory in overcoming it." And the second one that I'll share is this one. And this is some kind of old proverb. So it's actually not by somebody, but it's an old proverb. "Smooth seas do not make skillful sailors."
Yes, so true. Absolutely. Diamonds are created under pressure, right? Yes, love it. Thank you, Ken. And how can people connect with you?
Well, for those of you who don't know, many of you do, but for those of you who don't know, I've lost 62.5 pounds, and I've been able to keep it off for 7+ years now without a diet and having that be sustainable. And right now I'm literally giving away my 3 secrets to help you lose weight, feel energized, get healthy without starving or dieting. In just 3 one-on-one sessions with me, I expose the 3 biggest lies that are keeping people sick, stuck, and overweight, because that's how that industry makes money. And I'm showing them how they can fuel their body God's way and finally break free and keep the weight off for life like I've been able to do. And so to connect with me, you can go to www.masteryweightloss.com/connect. And that's my connection page, custom made, very simple. There's 4 buttons on that page as you scroll down. 4 buttons. The very first button is to join that mini educational boot camp that I just mentioned. It's an educational boot camp. It's not a workout plan. It's not an eating plan. It's simply an educational background foundation that will give you a ground to stand on that I can promise you'll never be moved from again. The rest of the buttons are ways you can connect with me. There's a button in there to book a free strategy call with me. Maybe you don't know what your next steps are. All right. Well, let's get on a Zoom call. Let's unpack that. Give me a chance to get to know, what's going on there and point you in the right direction. The other 2, connect with me on Facebook and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And that is it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Ken. And for me now, I'm actually going to start with my lots of beautiful comments. Thank you there. We'll come back to that. My Linktree /Aldwyn is where you can find me. I've got all my links there. We've got a free Global Good News Challenge every single month. And for July now, we have a 7-day challenge, 7 days in a row of sharing gratitude and good news. You will feel amazing when you get into gratitude and share your good news. And so will people who see your videos. And that then will help reduce depression, suicide rates, and lift the energy on the planet. I personally had depression over many years and also have had 4 friends suicide, which is why I created this. And also the Good News Day as well, which is coming up. Actually, we've got our 8th anniversary of the Good News Day, which is on the 8th of the 8th. Every year it's been going since 2018. So August 8, which is when we're going to be doing a show actually with Robert on August 8. So keep an eye out on Robert's show. We're going to be celebrating the 8th year of the Good News Day, which I started after my 4th friend suicided, all about helping to encourage people to share more good news on their socials and shine the light on the darkness and focus on the good stuff. Then we have also there, we have my media website. So if you want to help, want some help with clarity around your messaging and help to get out there to be seen, heard, and known through the maze of mass media, then reach out to me there as well. You'll see all my other links, the YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, all that stuff. We've got our Total Truth Show Facebook page as well. If you haven't liked that, we'd love you to like that and give us a review. That'd be really cool. We're on Spotify, BitChute, Rumble, all the other places as well. Charles is here saying, yes, I was going to say it's the middle of the night for Robert. Yes, the middle of the morning. Joe's here with us. Hello, Joe. Joe Nicasio is here. Hello on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Thank you. So that's where you can connect with me. And I have a few quotes today that I want to share. These are classic and timeless wisdom, these quotes. We've got Billie Jean King, pressure is a privilege, by Billie Jean King. I love that. Pressure is a privilege. There are no shortcuts to any place worth going, by Beverly Sills. Okay, there are no shortcuts to any place worth going. This is by Eleanor Roosevelt. You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. Strength, courage, and confidence. And Ernest Hemingway has this one. Courage is grace under pressure. Courage is grace under pressure. So many great quotes around this. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, here's one by Chris Pinadella. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength, by Marcus Aurelius. Yeah, love that one.
Wow, by Marcus. I like that. Yep.
Power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you'll find strength. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. And if you, other people here joining us live or on the replay, if you have some great quotes, let us know in the comments. What are your quotes of the day or quotes around our topic, around the truth about, we have had an awesome topic, the truth about thriving under pressure today. It's been a fantastic show. Thank you so much, Robert, once again for joining us. Is there any final comments you have or around our topic or anything else you want to share, Robert? Or Ken? Any final words?
No, I'm, everything has been said that needed to be said. So
yay, everything's been said that needs to be said.
I really wish everybody well, and again, consider letting go of any form of worry and deadlines and pressure. Come back to a state of grace. That's our purpose here, to find the bliss and the joy.
Yes, thank you, Robert. Thank you so much. Ken, final words?
None at all. But I totally agree with Robert. This has just been such an amazing, powerful conversation. Loved every minute of it. Just so much there. And I also just want to thank all the people in the comments. Thank you for engaging in our show. Chris, always a pleasure to see you. Kenneth Dunner, always a pleasure to see you. And the rest of the people, Joe and all the peoples. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Really appreciate you guys. And reach
you.
out if you'd like to come on the show at some stage. If you have something you'd like to share, reach out to myself or Ken as well. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day or night wherever you are in the world, and we'll see you back again for more amazing Total Truth Show episodes soon. Bye for now.